Konami sucks. I think pretty much everyone can agree on this opinion in some form or another. But it's been a little bit since someone has talked about this topic. I'm talking like this was relevant back in 2015. Much has changed since then, but what hasn't is how much Konami still sucks. For some context, Konami was cool. If you wanted to talk about a video game publisher and developer with prestige to its name, Konami was untouchable. We got Castlevania, jointly responsible along with Metroid for making up 50% of the name Metroidvania. In part responsible for popularizing an entire genre of games enjoyed by millions today. Cave Story, Hollow Knight, Ori and the Blind Forest, Shantae. These franchises wouldn't have existed without Castlevania on the scene. Contra, quintessential run-and-gun action platformer, hard as balls, and played a good part in popularizing co-op action-oriented gameplay. Silent Hill revolutionized video game horror in ways still used to this day. From its use of an eerie atmosphere to its horrific sound design and enemy designs, it's a pinnacle in the psychological horror genre that strives to leave lasting experiences on those that have played the game long after they've put it down. To this day, whenever I go outside on a foggy day, I will always think, oh my god, wow, this is just like Silent Hill. Metal Gear Solid. Is there anything I can even really say at this point that hasn't been said? Arguably Konami's most popular franchise to this day, it's gone from just being a video game franchise to now being a cornerstone of internet gaming culture. It's taken the name of a man and transformed it from video game developer to legend in the video game industry. It's an integral building block to the genre of stealth games and went on to inspire countless other works with its gripping plot and revolutionary mechanics. In a series where one of its most popular scenes literally involves you just climbing a ladder while a song plays in the background, there's simply no way this paragraph can give the series proper justice. We don't even need to stay main series. Metal Gear Rising, standing. I actually don't even need to say anything, it speaks for itself. Going back to Konami's roots as an arcade game developer, I already mentioned Contra and Castlevania, but look no further than Dance Dance Revolution, published by Konami. It's a landmark arcade experience. Walk into any large arcade today and I can guarantee you'll find a DDR machine. Fucking cheat codes, you know the Konami code? Peep the name, up, down, left, right, BA. I've played maybe a handful of games where that code does something, but even I still have that shit memorized. I can barely remember my own phone number sometimes. Okay, we get it, Stryxo. Konami had prestige. So what happened? How can one game company fumble when it has all of these beloved, popular IPs under its belt? It should be impossible to completely alienate the large majority of the gaming community when all you need to do is just ride nostalgia and possibly even pump out more games for these franchises. Mistake number 1. Konami abandoned its franchises. Nearly every major IP Konami owns has been deserted for one reason or another and left to gather dust while Konami focuses on pachinko machines and gambling. Any release these IPs might have had was rushed to completion and ultimately performed poorly sales-wise and critic-wise because of it, thus leading Konami to believe, oh, we shouldn't make games for these franchises anymore. It's a staggering conclusion to come to through actions solely your own. Nonetheless, Konami instead chose to consolidate its video game development into the mobile sector, so a lot of their new releases have been mobile games. Mistake number 2, milking your existing franchises until there's nothing left. I'm talking about no effort, maximum profit, mobile games made by shitty companies. Castlevania Grimoire of Souls is an all-new Castlevania game for mobile, playable now exclusively on the Apple Arcade. Originally released for mobile devices in 2019, but was then closed in 2020 by Konami due to low public interest. Now, as far as I know, it's not a bad mobile game. The trailers look nice, it's got the theme playing in the background, you know, dun-dun-dun-dun. But I'm really turned off from trying the game out because now that it's an Apple Arcade exclusive, I'm forced to pay a monthly subscription to continue to play the game, but also I just don't like playing games on my phone. I'd much rather try this out on Steam or my Switch, but instead I'd have to deal with mobile game controls, which aren't really that good. The mistake here isn't the mobile game itself, it's just a fundamental misuse of the franchise as a whole. Castlevania-style games are still wildly popular and successful. A brand new, proper entry in the franchise would probably sell pretty well and be a welcome addition to the current lineup of Metroidvanias to play. Look at what Nintendo did with Metroid Dread. People were afraid of its performance, but turns out the game sold really well and was a massive success. Literally just copy what they did. Speaking of misusing the franchise, Castlevania's 35th anniversary. Now this was a pretty big deal for Castlevania fans. They hadn't had a notable big update to their franchise in quite a few years, so in the mind of a Castlevania fan, the 35th anniversary must have seemed pretty big. Like, ooh, what if it's a cool statue of Richter Belmont or Dracula? Or what if it's a remake of the games? Or what if it's a brand new Castlevania game for consoles? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Well, September 23rd, 3 days before the actual 35th anniversary came, we got Castlevania Advance Collection, which ported 3 Game Boy Advance Castlevania games and also Dracula X. Cool, thanks Konami. But hey, what's that other date in the back? January 6th? Why do you guys have that one written down? Announcement from Konami, happy 35th anniversary Castlevania fans. We're excited to announce that for the 35th anniversary of Castlevania, we'll be launching our Castlevania NFT auction. Oh, you should have just said nothing. Also, just for your information, and as a possible warning, Metal Gear will also be celebrating its 35th anniversary on July 13th of this year, and considering Konami mentioned multiple times they'd also like to sell NFTs for their other franchises, I have terrible news for Metal Gear fans based on my own deductive reasoning skills. While we're talking about Metal Gear, mistake number 3, mistreating Hideo Kojima and also all of your other workers. There's like a 0.01% chance you're watching this video and you don't know who Hideo Kojima is, but just in case, he's a legend among the video game industry. He's responsible for Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, Silent Hills, not the original games, but the canceled remake, Death Stranding, and also played a large role in the creation of Metal Gear Rising. Nearly every major project he's touched has gone on to not just be successful, but be considered a must-play if you're a fan of video games. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten around to playing any of the Metal Gear games yet. However, you can bet that when I do, I'll be streaming it live over at twitch.tv/Stryxo. It was like the perfect setup. Can you just let me have that one, please? He's a name so wildly popular that the most confusing game trailer anyone has ever seen could be released, and as long as his name is slapped onto the end of it, it'll be one of the most hyped games of the decade. So heading back to 2014 and 2015, Hideo Kojima was hard at work on Metal Gear Solid 5 and recently just got done with PT Silent Hills, which was wildly received as a massive success. Konami will get this out of me one time and one time only. But to be fair to them, Hideo Kojima was over his deadline and over his budget for Metal Gear Solid 5. Obviously, I'm not a company, but considering his previous track record up to this point was all of the other Metal Gear games and also PT Silent Hills, let the man work. It is more likely to be a better project than not. During the first few months of 2015, Konami completely restructured their entire company due to the success of their mobile game, Dragon Collection. They caught on very quickly that mobile games were cheap to make and made an absurd amount of revenue. So Kojima, as a result of the restructure, went from executive content officer, who basically had his hand in every single game released by Konami, to just another developer who was in charge of what was formerly considered Kojima Productions, now called Number 8 Production Department. Considering Kojima is a man who goes through the effort to create with careful detail in mind with what seems like no regards to budget, you can see how that now clashes with Konami's new mindset. Konami then goes on to lose its, to be fair, privileges because post-restructure, they made the development of Metal Gear Solid 5 actively harder for the team to deal with. They limited the studio's access to the email servers and phone lines of the company, and also just randomly shut the internet off sometimes for reasons I don't know, and I can't even imagine why they would do that. If their issue is that the game is taking too long to develop, why would you not make it easier for the studio instead of actively sabotaging them? They even locked Kojima away in a separate room where he was forced to work on a completely different floor from his team members. This helps literally no one. Regardless, Metal Gear Solid 5 released and was a big success. Konami then proceeded to cut ties with Hideo Kojima, wiped his name from all of their Metal Gear branding on their website, barred him from accepting his reward at the Game Awards out of what I can only presume is spite.
Any awards.
Completely canceled the Silent Hill reboot because Kojima worked on it and people liked it. Finally, salt on the wound, while they were in the middle of firing the man who made Metal Gear what it is today, they announced they were developing a new Metal Gear game. By the way, that Metal Gear game they were developing was Metal Gear Survive. And there's one man on this platform who I think said it best.
Even if this game turned out great, fans would hate it, but it didn't turn out great. It's not even mediocre. This game is ultra mega ass.
Furthermore, it didn't just end at mistreating Kojima. According to people who have worked at Konami in the past, it's just an awful environment. Employees leaving the company offices during their lunch break are having their absences monitored with time cards. Those who stay out too long are having their names announced throughout the company. There are cameras in the office corridors that monitor the movements of employees. Developers who aren't seen as useful are reassigned to jobs as security guards, cleaning staff, or roles at a Pachi slot machine factory. This includes junior and senior staff members who have worked on well-known game titles. Finally, a former employee who announced they were leaving Konami on Facebook and getting a new job elsewhere had their post monitored, and any remaining Konami employees that liked the post were reshuffled within the company. I honestly don't know what to say. What the fuck is your problem, Konami? Stepping back and taking all of this in, it's a staggering implosion of a company to see happen in real time. They've actively fought time and time again throughout the years to tank their reputation as far as they can. If it wasn't actively malicious, I'd almost respect it. Through 3 simple things to avoid, Konami in a different world could have been out here as a major name alongside Ubisoft, EA, Microsoft, Respawn. Not to say that any of these companies are better or worse, they all have their own problems, but they are popular. So 2 things I'd like to say. First, to Konami, you're not going to do this, but sell your IPs. You're not using them, give Kojima Metal Gear, and hell, give him Silent Hill too, he deserves it. Secondly, fuck Konami. If you enjoyed the video, click on the playlist to see more things that suck and follow my Twitch to see my live thoughts on games.